Hello and welcome again. So as you can see, we have all the elements ready now to start, finally, the isometric illustration. Okay, so here we have the sketch that I just shown you on the previous step on my canvas. On the actual file, I created a separate layer called sketch. Right now I'm going to double click on this layer and I'm going to make it into a template layer. So here I'm going to select that option. This does basically two things. One thing is that it dims the images. You can enter any percentage that you want. In this case, I'm going to enter 30. And it will be automatically locked, so you can work more comfortably. I also created another layer for the grid. Another useful thing that you can do with this grid is to convert it into guides. So right now I'm going to take my grid, I'm going to select it all, and then I'm going to view, guides, and make guides. You can create any custom guides using this tool, by the way. And now, since we have this grid on a separate layer, we can toggle it on and off by just hiding that layer. And finally, we have our vectors layer. We're going to place all of our elements and all of our illustration here on this layer. So this will be on top and unlocked. And we place the objects that we created on the previous step outside the artboard. That way you can use them, but they won't show up if you export the file. Moving on to the actual illustration, there are two approaches that you can take to create an isometric illustration. Let me show you one of them. That is taking our pen tool and we can start clicking on the guides. So the smart guides will tell us where there is an anchor point, so we can click from anchor to create any shape that we want. So the pros of this approach is that it's very simple. You can never go wrong with this. As long as you have your smart guides activated, every point that you place with your pen tool will be perfect. But the cons will be that you're pretty much constrained to what the grid can offer you. So the second approach that I'm going to teach you gives you more freedom, but it's more complex to do. For now, let's deactivate the grid, and I'm going to take everything we've done and I'm going to bring the stroke up so we can see clearly all the shapes we created. So going back to our first approach to create isometric objects, you can see that we are limited to what the grid can offer us. So in this case, this table ended up being too thick. I wanted it to be a bit more slim, so I'm going to take all the anchor points by using my direct selection tool, and I'm going to manually adjust this shape by bringing the thickness of the table a bit down. So as you can see, this method will require you some fine-tuning afterwards. Okay, next I will show you my second approach and my favorite one. This will be based on the existing cube that we've created, and it will be very useful to do more complex stuff. Unlike the table we just did, that's very simple. So I'm going to take this cube and move it around here. Now I'm going to double click on this cube so we can enter isolation mode. This way we're only going to work with this cube and the rest of the shapes are not going to interfere with our work. Again, we're going to take the direct selection tool, and now we are going to click and drag and hold shift to select the top anchor points of this cube. What we want to do is to bring the height of this cube down so it becomes the base of the computer. As you can see, it now looks very similar to the shape that I'd drawn on my original sketch. And now we want to enlarge this part. So again, we are going to take our direct selection tool and we're going to select these anchor points and stretch this to this side. So remember the shortcut that I mentioned while I showed you the sketch? the 1 up and 2 across, or 1 down and 2 across, well, we are going to repeat that same movement with our arrow keys on the keyboard. So let's do 2 across to the right and 1 down in this case. Perfect. So again, 2 across to the right and 1 down. And of course we are going to repeat this process until we reach the size that we wanted for this shape. So as long as you keep doing these movements that are 1 up and 2 across, or 1 down and 2 across if you want to go to the other direction, the angle for the isometric view will not be altered. So you can keep doing this and you will never ruin the angle. Okay, so we are going to do the same thing here one more time. I'm going to take my direct selection tool and I'm going to select all the anchor points while holding shift to add to the selection, and this time will be 2 across and 1 up. Right, right, up, right, right, up. As you can see, it works. If you find that this is too time consuming, you can always hold shift while pressing the keyboard arrow buttons to increase the distance. Since this approach relies heavily on using the keyboard arrow buttons on our keyboard, we can always modify the increments that these keyboard arrows are going to represent under the Adobe Illustration preferences. So, as you can remember, in one of the first steps we entered just 1 pixel for the increments, but I think that this is actually too little, so we're going to hit Ctrl K to enter our preferences window, and we are going to enter 4 pixels this time. I think that will work much better. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so we can fine-tune this shape by pressing the same Alt shortcut, 1 up or 1 down and 2 across. Be sure to memorize that. You can never deviate from that because you will ruin your angle if you do it. So next we're going to create the top part of the computer. So we're going to double click to exit isolation mode. And I'm going to take only this one shape that you see here, and I'm going to Ctrl C and Ctrl V to just copy and paste anywhere on the canvas. And now we are going to take this shape and we're going to snap it right here. If you can't snap it correctly, you can always zoom in to do it more precisely, and then you can zoom out again. Okay, so now we are going to take the top part and we are going to hit up on our keyboard to enlarge it. And now we are going to take these 2 anchor points and we're going to give it the same treatment as before, 1 up and 2 across. So I'm going to press shift. I'll keep doing the same movement until it's now finished. So moving on, as you can see, if I hide my vectors layer, you can see that the top part of the computer has round edges on my sketch. So let's take care of that. We're going to select this and I'm going to Effect, Stylize, and Round Corners. Okay, so once this window pops up, I'm going to hit Preview so I can see the result before it takes effect. And I'll enter about 20 pixels here. And of course, once I'm happy with the result, I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so there's one thing that I should warn you. Adobe Illustrator recently included a new way to create round corners called the live corners, but I should warn you that you should not use this option while working on an isometric illustration because it gives a weird result. It's not the result that we are looking for. Here on the video you can see an example of what I'm telling you. So have that in mind. You can use the live corners in other kinds of illustrations, but not on isometric ones. So just stick to Effect, Stylize, and Round Corners for this. Okay, having said that, let's go to Object, Expand Appearance. And as you can see, we want to keep the round corners on the top of the shape, but we don't want the ones on the bottom, so we're going to remove them. So here you can actually use the live corners, these little circles around the corners, to undo any kind of roundness that you don't want. Another common thing that may happen to you is that once you expand a shape on Adobe Illustrator, the result is for some reason two different shapes, as you can see here in this case, so just delete one and keep the other one. We're now going to assign 1 pixel to the stroke. Actually, let's assign 1 pixel to every stroke here on the entire illustration. Okay, great. So the top part of the computer is now ready for now. As you can see, I'm not assigning any thickness to this shape because on the actual computers, this part is very thin, so I think it will work better as just one shape. Okay, so moving on. At this moment, I want to select every shape that I created under my vectors layer. So I'm going to the layers panel here, and I'm going to hit this little round icon. This will select everything that is under this layer. Basically, what I want to achieve at this moment is to remove all the fills from every shape on this layer so I can see everything that is on my sketch layer. So I'm going to first of all select the fill and then click on this little slash icon. This will remove all the fills. Okay, so I'm going to again place my layers panel under here. Moving on, the next thing I will do is to create this inner shape here on the top part of the computer. This will be the screen shape. So I'm going to Object, Path, Offset Path, and I'm going to select about -10 pixels. Maybe it's -15 instead of -10. So be sure to try different things until you feel it's right. Okay. Once you're done, hit OK to exit this menu. As you can see here on this corner, we still have some roundness, and I definitely do not want that. So we're going to take this little round icon that's the live corner, and we're going to undo the roundness. You can rely on these live corners to undo roundness, but never use them for creating one. Continuing with the next part, we are going to double click here to enter isolation mode and work only with this group. And I'm going to select this top part of the rectangle, and again I'm going to Object, Path, Offset Path. This time I will enter about -20. I think that will work. So this shape we are creating will be the basis for the keyboard. So you can always rely on the Offset Path tool while creating an isometric illustration, because this tool will always take one shape and will create a new shape based on that one. So it will always keep the angle that we have created on the first parts of this course. So have that in mind. You can always rely on the Offset Path tool. Okay, now that we have this, we're going to adjust the position a bit. We're going to go 2 to the left and 1 to the top. Okay. Now we want to select both of these anchor points, and we are going to modify the position too. So we're going to go 2 to the left and 1 to the top. We're going to repeat this as many times it's necessary. So the placement looks good now, so we're going to leave it around here. Next, we have to take care of these little rectangles, as you can see here on my original sketch. These are tiny rectangles on the sides that are the speakers on the computer. So we need to make room for those shapes. So we will need to adjust again the size of the shape of the keyboard. So we're going to go 2 across and 1 up. Now we are going to repeat the same process on the other side to make it symmetrical. Since this is the opposite side, it's now going to be 1 down and 2 across. Now that we have room for them, we are going to create those little rectangles that are the speakers on the computer. So let's copy this shape. We are going to hit Ctrl C and then Ctrl F as in forward to paste a copy that's exactly on top of the original. Now we need to take this shape away from the computer, so we are going to hit 2 to the left and 1 down, 2 to the left and 1 down, and so on. You can hold Shift to make this faster. I want to place it right about here. So as you can see, a constant on my approach to isometric illustration is to take an existing shape and then modify it to create a new one, as I've just done with the shape for the keyboard and the shape for the speakers. Now I'm going to take this shape and send it to the other side. One more time, we are going to use the approach of taking an existing shape and modifying it to create the shape that's the trackpad, that's this little rectangle under the keyboard. So we're going to take this shape and we're going to Ctrl C, Ctrl F to create a copy. This approach to me is very simple and very easy, as I don't have to draw each shape every time and I don't have to worry about angles anymore. So the only difficult part may be the 1 up and 2 across approach, but once you've done it enough times, it will become second nature to you. You just have to practice this enough times. So I'm going to modify the shape now. And once I do that, I'm going to modify the placement a bit so it looks better. Okay, there we go. As far as the main shape goes, we have everything we need at the moment, so we are going to the details. At the moment, we are going to create the keys on the keyboard. We are going to take our direct selection tool, which is this white arrow, and we are going to click anywhere on this path, on this line. Once we've done that, we are going to hit Ctrl C on the keyboard to copy and Ctrl F as in forward to paste only this line on top of the original. So now we need to repeat the same process with this line down here. You will see why afterwards. So we're going to click anywhere on this line with the direct selection tool and we're going to hit Ctrl C and Ctrl F as in forward. There we go. Okay, at this moment we need to group these two lines so we can work more comfortably. We're going to do that and then double click and enter isolation mode. So we have only these two lines. And now we're going to our toolbar and select this blend tool. With this tool, we are going to click on one extreme of this line and then we are going to click on the same extreme of the other line. And there we go, we have created a blend. This is a tool that allows us to create multiple iterations or multiple in-betweens of two shapes or two lines. So in this case, we've created multiple copies of these two lines. And the good part of this blend tool is that we can edit the result. So we're going to Object, Blend, Blend Options now. And here under Spacing, we are going to select from this drop-down menu the option called Specified Steps. Next, we'll hit Preview, so we'll know what we are doing. And then we are going to start trying some numbers until the result looks okay. So the good thing about this is that every iteration, every in-between will be evenly spaced. So that is very useful. Once we are happy with the result, we can exit this window and we can go to Object, Blend, and Expand. Once we've expanded that, this will no longer be a blend. This will be just a regular set of lines perfectly spaced. Now we are going back to the previous group. We can click here on the top left part of the screen to return, and we're going to repeat the same process but with the lines on the sides of the keyboard. So one more time, we're going to take the direct selection tool. We are going to click anywhere here on this line. We're going to then hit Ctrl C and Ctrl F as in forward to copy. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, and we're going to group these two elements. Then we're going to double click to enter isolation mode, and we are going to repeat the same process with the same blend tool that is on our toolbar. Always be sure to click on the same extreme on both lines, so the blend result is consistent. And now we are going again to the blend options. Again here under specified steps, we are going to start trying some numbers until the result looks okay. So as you can imagine, at this moment the idea is to create some sort of grid. So this looks actually like a keyboard, like the keys on a keyboard. Always be sure to have the preview box checked so you can take decisions on the fly. You can see if you like the result, otherwise you can change it. So right now I'm going to Object, Blend and Expand to expand my result, and we have this set of keys on the keyboard. We are going to exit isolation mode at this moment by double clicking anywhere on the canvas, and we're going to ungroup these shapes. Of course, you can do this by hitting right click and selecting Ungroup, and we want to ungroup every group so far. At this moment, we only want to have individual shapes on our illustration. So next, we are going to select all of those lines by holding Shift while clicking to add to the selection. And once we've done that, we're going to bring our Pathfinder window by going to Window, Pathfinder, and we'll click on this option called Divide. So right now we turned all those long lines intersecting each other into little squares. Of course, these will be the individual keys on the keyboard, and now that we have them as shapes, as little square shapes, we can do more with them, we can handle them more comfortably. Finally, we want to create this little gap here on the computer. This is the place where you put your finger to lift the top of the computer. So, of course, we are going to take an existing shape and we're going to modify it. So, one more time, we'll take this shape and hit Ctrl C, Ctrl F to create a copy. And by using this copy, we are going to create our new shape. So, right now, I'm modifying this shape. At this point, you must be very familiar with what I'm doing, so you don't need me to explain everything. But I'm going to give round corners to this shape. So I'm going to Effect, Round Corner. As you can see, it stores the last used effect, so it's quicker now. And we're going to input around 20 here. So right now I need to copy this shape, the base of the computer, and I'm going to hit Ctrl C, Ctrl F to do so. And I'm going to select both this and this shape, and we are going to select this option under the Pathfinder window called Intersect. So we have created this little shape. So our shapes are almost all ready for this computer. We only need one more detail, that is this little dot around here, that's the camera. Remember that we've created some round shapes in an earlier step. Okay, we are going to reuse those shapes at this moment. It's always good to have them around, maybe outside the artboard. So we're going to take this one that's facing front and we're going to place it around here. And I'm going to resize it, always holding Shift to constrain the proportions so I don't ruin it. There we go. Our shapes for the entire computer are now done. So then we need to move on to the next step, that will be coloring. So we can select any shape here and we can change the color, as you can see here. So this may look easy or intuitive, but there are some things that you need to know at the time of coloring this illustration. So on the next part of this isometric course, I'm going to teach you the approach to coloring an isometric drawing and how the coloring can reinforce and help the illustration to have a more three-dimensional look. See you on the next part of this course.